Are your ulcerative colitis symptoms proving difficult to manage? Tremfya guselkumab can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. At 1 year, many patients taking Tremfya achieved clinical remission, and some patients also achieved endoscopic remission. Individual results may vary. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Ask your doctor if Tremfya can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
In a way, it ends where it begins.
Very insightful.
Thank you for sharing this Red Baron with us, Linda. It's so tasty, it makes me want to share something of my own. I didn't actually read the book.
Me neither.
I watched the movie last night.
I judged it by its cover.
I haven't read a book since middle school.
I'm secretly seeing 2 other book clubs.
And I can't even read.
I'm not really Gary. He just paid me to be here. Sharing Red Baron pizza can lead to more sharing.
It's really cool.
Bonjour, hello, and welcome to the Rosbiff Rugby Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things French rugby, the top 14, Pro Leader, National, the French national team, the brilliant towns, cities, bars, restaurants, cuisine, and, well, all the fans, everything that makes French rugby so brilliant. Before we get into all the fun stuff to discuss tonight, it's been a fairly tumultuous couple of days with the French national team. Firstly, Melvin Jaminet on Monday has been suspended by the French Rugby Federation after a racist remark made in a viral video. He has since been sent home from the tour to Argentina, pending further investigation. Melvin Jaminet has since apologised, saying, "I understand the hurt, that this has hurt and offended many people, and I want to make it clear that these remarks do not reflect my values or those of the French rugby team. Racism in any form is unacceptable and goes against everything I believe in." So that was Monday. Further repercussions, no doubt, to come from that. And then, as of just this morning, I think it was, the very serious allegations that 2 members of the French squad, 2 debutants from the weekend, Hugo Aradou and Oscar Jegu, being detained in Argentina and sent back to Mendoza over an alleged sexual assault. The statement from the head of the French Rugby Federation, Florian Gill: "The facts are proven they're incredibly serious. You must spare a thought for the young woman. It's the opposite of everything that rugby is, of everything that rugby does, of everything that rugby builds. But you must let the investigation, which is necessary, take place," he told journalists earlier, according to Le Monde. That's that, hopefully. Rob, how are you?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one because we're obviously here we try and champion everything great about French rugby, and there was a hell of a lot of great stuff about French rugby up and down the age groups and up and down the country and all around the world, quite frankly. And then there's been some really dark stuff over the weekend. Well, the Melvin Jaminet thing kind of is shot himself in the foot, really. He's kind of posted up on a story while he was clearly under the influence of alcohol, but it doesn't excuse some pretty nasty thoughts, whether he kind of stands by them in the light of day or not. And then the I think that was the kind of slightly shuddering thing, wasn't it? Is the as you said there, and was reported in the Times, the I think it's from Florian Grill. No, it's from Amélie Oudéa-Castéra, the French sports minister. If the investigation establishes the alleged facts, they constitute an unspeakable atrocity, which is kind of slightly chilling. And we kind of definitely weren't hoping to or expecting to kind of open the podcast with this. It's kind of a bit disappointing generally. We'll try and focus on the positives, but we can't not mention it because it is the two main stories in all of French rugby right now. And there's it's now been published in the UK media. So if you do struggle with French, which I have over the last few days, I think Google Translate has had a good working over some of the idioms of French language have stumped Google Translate. But yeah, it's all kind of reported in the media. So if you do want to see more about it, you can find out. But yeah, some pretty we don't really kind of want to comment on it too much more, I'd say. Rich, is that fair enough?
I think that's very fair. Yeah, unfortunately overshadowing what was and understandably overshadowing what was a fantastic game in Mendoza from a French perspective, which we'll get into in a sec. More broadly, how are you? What's news? What's the combination of French kit today? You've got Montauban.
I think I've worn this jumper every day for the last 3 days. I think that kind of tells you my level of apathy at the moment, Richard. The hat, I thought, given the kind of gravity of some of the news over the last few days, I thought I'd kind of take us back to a cheerier moment of when I went to GEP Conflans Canigou, which obviously has a ray of sunshine on the logo itself. So I kind of thought that feels fitting for today to kind of bring some sunshine to this podcast and hopefully the United Kingdom, which has been utterly miserable today.
I think today is as wet as I can ever remember. So looking out the window, and it was like we've been watching this thing on Netflix, Dark, like a German kind of Stranger Things type vibe. And you know how
so
all these kind of
Richard.
Well, I think it was pretty popular. I think we were actually very late to it. But you know how in particularly that kind of like Scandinavian drama, they love a policeman in the rain, and it's rain like you've never seen before that doesn't actually exist. Well, today, looking out of my window, it felt like I was in some sort of Swedish noir, wet, just bloody wet everywhere. But look, there we go. England's still in the Euros. There's rugby on telly. We can't complain too much.
I did read one comment, and I don't want to dwell on the whole. We've done enough politics and drama, but I read one article that said when Rishi Sunak announced the general election, it was like a kind of commentary, political sketch thing. It was in rain that film directors pay thousands of pounds to try and recreate. Like such was the kind of solemnness of that level of the deluge that he'd subjected himself to when he announced the election in pouring rain.
Yeah, it really wasn't it?
It was kind of one of those sketch articles summing up the Conservative campaign. It was pretty good. Anyway,
pathetic stuff. Mendoza.
Yeah, how cool does the stadium look?
Really cool. Yeah,
it looks quite Montauban, Stade Sapiac-esque with the kind of bowl shape.
Yeah,
Art Deco concrete, a few railings, bit like Raoul Barrière as well. The Béziers Stadium is really cool. Not much height though compared to the Raoul Barrière.
No, but it looks a fantastic stadium. I was with one
700 meters above sea level as well. I thought it was a bit higher, but I didn't look that up.
I was with one of a mutual friend of ours on Sunday who recently went to Argentina, and I sort of mentioned or re-mentioned that it was in Mendoza, and he was more than willing to discuss how apparently Mendoza as a region is particularly stunning if you want hills, hiking, amazing food, amazing wine, basically you name it, great rugby. Is there. So perhaps one of the extended Rosbiff tours in future years be good to get out there. But look, I mean, we knew there were going to be new faces in the France team. They've obviously picked a fairly callow squad. Could the result itself have gone much better, do you think? It was 28-13 with a late, pretty consolation-y try to Argentina. Pretty comfortable.
Yeah, they were. I think it's staggering. They were couldn't really get their head around it on commentary either. Like, it's staggering that a team that has played together that much and in some loads of, like, a lot of that team has beaten the All Blacks in Christchurch, has like got to a World Cup semi-final, etc. And the France team had basically never played together before, apart from the odd kind of combination here and there. Staggering achievement for the French side. It just shows their kind of the strength and depth they've got is scary. Argentina are a weird team, though, aren't they? Like, they kind of do this. They kind of look a bit
100%.
crap at various times, and then suddenly they're just like, you've got Montoya like beating his chest, and suddenly you're like, I could run through a brick wall, and they kind of all feel like they're going to run through a brick wall. It's kind of,
I mean, our Rosbif rugby season kicked off at the Stade Velodrome in Marseille, didn't it? The England-Argentina game.
And they were pants.
I mean, England played, George Ford controlled it brilliantly and had a very clear game plan, but my God, they were absolutely woeful. And, they obviously improved through that tournament, but yeah, they were pretty disappointing and had plenty of the ball as well. It was just, like if you were a really naff commentator, you would have said, oh, which one of these teams do you not think has been playing together very long? And you would have said Argentina. Just that kind of finishing touch wasn't there. They're a bit disjointed, but France were. I thought France looked great. Scrum was key. Was massive.
That became the dominance of the French pack in the second half became slightly farcical. Really, like, they were motoring them backwards. Colombe had a fantastic game.
He was brilliant, wasn't he?
Jean-Baptiste Gros and Gaetan Barlow, I thought, was brilliant. Just all round nuts and bolts, linking everything, like a real good link man. His line out was pretty good. I thought they carried really well. Some great offloading from Barlow. But they're up front, they were just completely dominant. Even when Demba Bamba came on, he went pretty well as well. I know Thomas Gaggio, the loose head for Argentina, has come under some stick in the past for his scrummaging. I think against again in that game against England in the World Cup, he was poor and has been at various other times. But Montoya is, as a hooker, a fantastic scrummaging hooker. So they were just really, really underwhelming at scrum time.
Yeah, I think
the stereotype of the big Argentine.
I think, Colombe, if he can kind of stay fit, is going to push, I think, Weenie Antonio for the starting berth. And he's so massive and so powerful. And I think that front row as a unit. So, I mean, there's a lot of talk about how callow a side is, but we know if you can stay competitive and if you can get more than parity at the scrum, then you're always in with a shout. You look at that, it's a pretty high quality front row, isn't it? So all of them have played a bit for France in the past, like albeit Jean-Baptiste Gros been out of favour for a little while, but even Barlow played a few years ago, didn't he? I think in the Six Nations.
He's kind of unfortunate to be behind a lot of very good,
brilliant hookers. Exactly, and he plays week
like
in.
His third choice,
he plays week in, week out for Cass. Like, if you can't scrummage, you're not playing in that side.
And if you haven't got a good line out, you're not playing in that side.
Exactly. So you're looking at guys who have. I mean, Barlow's played top 14 finals. Colombe has played. He's won 2 Heineken Cups and played in another final. It's not to take anything away from the result. It's more the sudden realization of how good like a fourth choice front row that is.
Yeah, Colombe, you're right on Colombe. I think he's had a brilliant end to the season. He looks really dynamic generally. Like, he looks
like quite a good bloke. as well.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
When he popped up from coughing that one up over the line, having
No, that was a
full-
try though. That was awarded.
Well, I must have been. No, it
The
wasn't.
one where he slams it down.
No, it wasn't given unless
Have I lost my head?
unless I don't know, unless I cut out. I watched it. It was like it looks good, but it wasn't given.
No, it like touches the line. Oh, we both lost the plot here.
And the commentator, and I can't remember who it was commentating, was just
Jamie Lyle.
Was like, you should have just asked him. He looked really gutted. But either way, the point I was trying to make was before that, he has skittled his way to the line in the sort of manner of the overgrown kids in the under 14s. Like it was class.
Cologne did not score a try. Yeah, apologies.
It deserved it though. It deserved it. Elsewhere,
it kind of does have to be said. I know we don't want to touch on it too much, but Hugo Oredu had a brilliant 50 or so minutes on the field. He was used in the line out a lot. Really good around the park. Jegu was also fantastic. Like some of his offloading in close quarters and just dynamism absolutely everywhere. I think Ben Kaiser was kind of pushing for Jegu as a potential man of the match. Although Serran was the kind of man in the end. He was, as the captain and most experienced head in that side, he looked in complete control and looked the most experienced man. But yeah, I think we kind of don't want to...
Serran's try, if DuPont had done that, we would rightly have been going mad. It was outrageous.
Yeah.
Just a little, like, I don't even know it's not even really like a grubber kick, is it? Because his first kick off the back of the line out, it goes about 4 yards. It was an amazing piece of skill and quite ballsy, I thought, for someone who's, there's quite a lot of responsibility on him in that team as, most capped, most experienced, not going to get too many more look-ins, you wouldn't think. Like, it's quite a flair to come out with a little trick play in the first half to do something like that.
I think that's just him, isn't it? Like, he is that extra flair, gives it a go. So he always has been, and he's kind of, I think a lot of people that don't see him week in, week out have been confused as to why he hasn't played more for France, because his highlight reel is so good. But I thought his kind of basic game management in this game was, I mean, he's obviously a lot older than he was. He's been brilliant for Toulon at the back end of the season, keeping out Ben White, who was a fantastic tactical kicker and just game manager. So yeah, and I thought Hastoy and Serran were brilliant at kind of moving them around the field and putting them into the right parts was just what they did. Like there wasn't kind of, I think that first half there wasn't an abundance of quality other than that Serran individual moment of brilliance. But yeah, I thought Hastoy and Serran managed. They looked, and they are the two most experienced players in that squad, I'd say.
Yeah.
And they looked it.
Yeah, 100%. I think it also just, this isn't a particularly revolutionary opinion, but I think, again, you could say it's one of the reasons why maybe the end result isn't quite as much a surprise as you'd maybe have thought before the game. And it's international rugby. Okay, you might need a bit more than this to win a World Cup or win a Grand Slam or Six Nations or whatever. But in order to be solid and competitive, if you've got two really good halfbacks who put you in the right parts of the pitch, it gets you miles. It's why Italy was so poor for so long, and they've started to turn a little bit of a corner with Garbisi and I'm still jury's out, I think, about Varney, but like Pajrello started looking really good in the Six Nations just gone. I think it's one of the reasons, we've seen in the past, like Georgia maybe haven't kicked on quite as much as some of the sort of quality they've got. And then, in this situation, you've got two guys.
Portugal went well in the World Cup because they
exactly. And look, I know that this isn't sort of, this isn't particularly revolutionary thinking, but Antoine Hastoy has won those Champions Cups. Serran would be first or second choice in 80%, 90% of international sides. Like, it's bloody handy to have them coming in fourth option in. Yeah, I suppose the other standouts or notables, Antoine Frisch had a pretty sort of
Really good game.
physical game. He was looked kind of to the manner born. And we've
He
got to
strikes
shout
me
him
as one of
out.
those players that would have the same game whether he's playing in like Barnstable second 15 or whether he's
Yeah,
playing like a World Cup final. He would have exactly the same game of kind of a few kind of big carries, a few kind of strips in the tackle, a few big tackles, kind of just general bit of a link man play.
yeah, I really like him. He was the year that Bristol tore up. He was brilliant.
Well, he played exactly the same way. He was good.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I mean. He's just sort of, he just seems to get it right. And we have to call out your man, try on debut.
He'd had a quiet game and I was starting to worry. And then there was just a beautiful move where Astor is just running across field and the switch inside is lined up. There's a parting of the Red Sea. Even so, like then the Argentinian players kind of swarm around him and he just wriggles his way through. It was one of those finishes that makes you go, like, I almost said in unison with Ben Kaiser and Jamie Lyle, like, wow, what a finish. Because he shouldn't score from, he should make yards, but he shouldn't score from where he gets the ball from. And if that's your impact in the game, I thought he was pretty decent. The rest of it, he's still quite lightweight, like he's still only 19. But as Steve said, he's got it all, and all-round game was pretty good. But the footwork and the way he wriggles his through, it was high skill. There's no other way of putting it. It was high skill.
And the sort of thing that just not many people, let alone guys who are 19 and on debut, can do.
Yeah.
You don't see many guys finishing with that sort of power when you're that live. Yeah, he's pretty cool. Like him a lot.
That field position came a lot from Tuolangi coming off the bench, who was just causing chaos. Like not necessarily like not quite Georges-Henri Colombe kind of skittling, but more kind of Greek mythology kind of giant sort of mowing down people sort of slowly sort of thing. Or something out of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But it's one of those games where like a lot of the France players played well. Like you kind of can't, there wasn't anyone that played badly, and you kind of look at the list of, oh, he had a good game, and before you know it, you've named 10 out of 15 people. Like Nucci was good around the park. I'd like to have seen more, if I am going to call someone out, I'd like to have seen more ball carrying from Jordan Joseph, or Jordan Joseph, as he seems to have become.
He's good on the floor, isn't he?
Yeah, surprisingly
good over the ball.
Gaetan was really good. He looks so like wise. It's like him and Paul Costa. I think that's going to be a fascinating battle for the next 10 years. They both play like kind of 70 cap internationals aged 20, 21.
There's just something about
so many good defensive reads and so many good tackles, and
there's something about good 13s outside centres as well. Like it's such a tricky place to defend, and yeah, these guys, like I don't know, both of those guys. I mean, Koss has been remarkable, like his rise, but I think you're right. I think they could be pretty sorted there for the foreseeable. The heirs to Fiku.
They probably pass the ball as well.
I don't think I've seen him play since your observation that
I wonder if he passed the ball.
Simply doesn't pass. Probably.
But 3 hours ago, Richard, the next game against Argentina, the next capped game, is on Sunday, and they will obviously be without Jaminet, Jegu, and Ordu. So someone's going to have, there's a spot up in the back row. I would imagine, I don't know, will they bring in Tuolangi and then move Pacenti across to the kind of loose headlock? I wonder if that's the kind of, there'll be a bit of shuffling.
I've got to get through a game first.
Yeah, so 3 hours ago, the team was announced for the game in Montevideo tomorrow. 7 o'clock French time, 6 o'clock UK time. I have no idea if you can see this anywhere in the UK. If you've got your Fire Stick lined up for Canal Plus, I imagine that might be showing it, but I can't even guarantee that. This is a non-cap game, and yeah, it would be full of debutants, really. I think of the players in that, the ones that are capped are Bobigny has 1 or 2 caps, Laclayette, Diallo I think has been capped, but Baptiste Couillou obviously has, Arthur Vincent, and I think that's it. And Pasola Tuolangi on the bench, and the 2 props on the bench. But yeah, I mean, it's a weird. So on the commentary, they were saying they're looking for Fabien Galtier is looking for kind of rough. We were saying this last week, kind of roughly 6 superstars, like the future. And it was kind of referenced like the Wockies, the Domties, Jolanche of the previous tour to Australia. I can't see that many future superstars in this team for tomorrow, I have to say. Georgie Barrett, the props maybe, but it doesn't feel, this feels more like a journeyman's 15.
Little bit Lions midweek sort of vibe.
Yeah.
But perhaps not quite as punchy. With
the exception of Junot on the bench, but yeah.
Yes, well, quite. I think he is. I feel like it's hard to with how was the Ponce that he's 27, isn't he?
Yeah. Sorry.
And then you've got Le Garrec. Like, I mean, Junot is so good, but you just wonder how long someone like that, or how good they might have to be before they even get the slightest sniff. Or who knows? Because I think he could be up there in that. I think regardless, I love that there's a game against Uruguay, Montevideo midweek. Like, it's brilliant. And lest we forget that Uruguay actually pushed France pretty well in the World Cup. I mean, so they'll be seeing it as a massive opportunity, won't they? And potentially, an opportunity to cause a bit of an upset. So it's
the game that seems to have taken Antoine Hastoy about 9 months to get over was the Uruguay game.
Yeah, he was shocking, wasn't he? Well, they all were, to be honest, but Uruguay were great.
I reckon they could win that. I'm intrigued, having slagged them off as a slightly journeyman side. They are some very good players. Romain Briat's been brilliant in the top 14 this season. Baptiste Couillou is 17 top 14 tries in 19 appearances.
I love
is just ridiculous.
He's such a good player.
So it'd be interesting to see how they measure up to the Uruguay side.
Yeah, and it's
that is a genuine like 4th 15 for France. That is not far off of 5th 15. So
and I could be wrong. I think it was our favourite Welsh French rugby journalist Ilta Dafydd put a little stat up earlier. I think although it's not a cap game, it's Santiago Arata's 50th game for Uruguay. So nice. he'll be champing at the bit, I'd imagine. And they've got Van der Berg is starting, isn't he, for France? So there's a few little kind of cashed one-on-ones in there, which I'm always a fan of.
I haven't seen the Uruguay team. I presume there's a few other. Our man that we saw in the bar in Bayonne, Manuel Lindecar, the longest neck in world rugby.
Yeah, he's a big unit, that guy. And then as you say, looking ahead to that's a great little midweeker, but it'd be interesting to see where some of those gaps are filled next weekend. And also it'd be interesting, like Buenos Aires, isn't it? The game.
Yeah.
Like Argentina are not going to want to lose 2-0 at home to a supposed third 15. So it'll be interesting to see if there's like something of a response there. I'm sure there will be. I'm sure it'll be tighter.
They can be slow starters, and they kind of as we said, they're a bit patchy, but they've got the rugby championship coming up, so they'll want to hit that with a bit of form. Feels like they're still kind of fighting for their place in that a little bit, doesn't it? But
and what time is that on Sunday?
The France game? It's on Saturday, isn't it? Or is it on Sunday?
Oh, I thought you said it was on Sunday. I'd
No.
kind of assumed it was Saturday at the same time, but
I
I'd
imagine
taken
it is.
your superior knowledge and maybe your
No, it's on Saturday at
misspeaking.
8:00. Yeah.
Fine, got you. Okay, not trying to compete with the potential Euros final. Alrighty, shall we leave that there and we'll come back and discuss a bit of under 20s and Petit-Fours?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, so we're recording this on a Tuesday evening, and that means that we've been able to be as up to date as we possibly can be with the France under 20 side, who, if I'm not mistaken, Rob, have just snuck their way into this weekend's semi-finals.
They have, yeah, as the best placed runner-up in the pools. So they lost to New Zealand last week, but they beat Wales with bonus point today, which put them on 11 points after their bonus point victory against Spain. And that puts them second. Do you know why? Did you see the quirk that happened as well that ensured them of the best runner-up place?
I'm not sure I did.
The Ireland-Australia game was rained off.
Oh, no, I did see that. And they're playing weren't they playing at the same ground? Like back to back?
I think so, yeah, possibly. It said the earlier game was cancelled.
I saw a quote from one of the
Athlone
Australia
Stadium in Cape Town.
One of the Australia under 20
Yeah, it was the same game. It
coaches
was the same ground.
Not very happy about that.
That's quite ridiculous, isn't it? Really.
So what does that mean? Were Australia in a pretty good place, were they? Sorry.
No, so basically that was winner takes all. And they've got 2 points each. But had Australia, there was a scenario where they both could have ended up on 11 points as well. But France have ended up on 11 points. Yeah, so Australia missed their chance for automatic promotion regardless because they then couldn't overtake Ireland.
So that abandonment gets Ireland through to the semi-finals.
Yeah.
That's farcical, isn't it?
And after they nearly lost, I think they scored in the 84th minute to beat Georgia.
Wow.
So, which, bearing in mind how good that Ireland team looked in the Six Nations is.
Yeah, they did. They were class. They beat I watched the game, they beat England at the Rec. It was a draw,
wasn't it?
Was it a draw? But there was something,
there was like an 84th minute try in that
riding on it. Did it deny England
the Grand Slam?
The Grand Slam. Yeah, it was something like that. It was class. Have you caught much of this? Did you see any of the game against New Zealand?
I watched most of that today, actually. Yeah.
Did you?
And yesterday. That's why I was slightly late to this podcast. Have you seen any of it?
I've seen I saw a few patches last week of the first half, and then I've seen the denouement, which is quite a ridiculous. It took me quite a while to realise what was going on.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk us through it?
So the final penalty kick to win the game for New Zealand. 10 seconds left on the clock. It goes over, but both teams are celebrating because the French side think it's missed and the New Zealanders think it's gone over, and they have to go to a TMO check. To be fair to the ref, he said he thought it was over and it just scrapes inside the post. But I didn't watch any of the kind of aftermath of that.
Well, the only other thing to mention is that a bit like the only time I've ever seen it was Joe Marchant for Quins a few years ago, where it was really windy at the Stoop, and whoever it was has Marcus Smith, I can't remember who it was, Botica, maybe that far back, I'm not sure, but has missed the kick by not much, and it's held up in the wind, and he's snuck underneath as the ball's about to hit the deck to score a try. Like one of the New Zealand players has pretty much got there to do the same thing, but not quite. So they're like they're like sort of judo wrestling to try and hold the ball up while the two touch judges are looking at each other, and the ref is like, what the fuck is going on? And I think eventually, yeah, they kind of, I don't know, they've simmered it all down, but yeah, not the most familiar ending, but yeah, I think they were, because France took a fairly late lead in that game, didn't they? So
So that
probably
was
a little bit
the kind of
disappointed to
game
lose
of the
there.
group stage, really, because I think between them they've won something like 8 out of 9 junior titles or something ridiculous
Sounds
like
about
that.
right.
And I mean the the first half was domination. I think well, I say that the possession stats were 52% to France, 48 to New Zealand. The territory stats were 78% to France, which is astonishing in any game of rugby, really, let alone a full half of two teams that are quite close. And for it to only have been 8-0 at half time to France was, it felt a lot like watching the second half. Sorry, it was 11-0 at half time. It felt a lot like the Scotland Wales game from Six Nations, where there were a lot of penalties, and then suddenly the penalties just started going the other way, and there were a lot of penalties starting to go the other way. But France were just completely on top. But when New Zealand did get the ball, they played some brilliant attacking rugby. France very nearly scored at the end. They actually scored in the end from a brilliant try from Furte, but they also nearly ran the length as well in that time, which would have been a sensational try. Just the kind of the pace and the timing of the passes. But I don't know whether it's like slight confirmation bias and kind of being aware of these players, but like Joe Caraba was just ridiculous. Like, he was everywhere. He's so quick for a back rower. He scores an interception. He nearly sets up, he plays a role in that kind of wonder try. He sets up the try for Furte, which is just doing stuff that back rowers shouldn't be able to do. Furte shows some serious gas for the finish as well. I thought Caraba was unbelievable. And he was good in the first game as well. I thought he was brilliant in the Six Nations when I saw him. I'm amazed he hasn't played well. Toulon have been pretty good, but he hasn't. I'd put him on a par with Castro, and Castro's obviously played quite a lot for Toulouse. Hugo Royce looked pretty good, as you'd expect for a guy that's played a lot. Couple of mistakes, but generally looked really in charge. He's been captaining them. Castro Ferreira was great when he was on. He got substituted for a winger, which I think actually probably cost them the game, because Carbonneau got a yellow card for a high tackle. And I think they brought on Biasotto so that Furte could move into 9 while Carbonneau was off. But actually, they then conceded 2 tries from basically getting beaten up front. And I imagine if you've got Matisse Castro Ferreira doing angry physical things, it probably helps when you're defending quite an aggressive Kiwi pack. Those were the standouts, I'd say. Lino Julien, the loose head prop, looks a ferocious player, just all game, both at scrum time and round the park. Really good carrier. Barnaby Massa is just the next all-round, all-singing, all-dancing French hooker, as far as I can say.
Remind me where he's going, because
Clermont.
It is Clermont. Nice.
Which feels like quite a good fit, actually.
Yeah.
He'll get quite a lot of game time there, I think. His line out was a little bit shaky at times, but I think that's got to be expected at that age. You're not going to be perfect. It's very rare. Like, I think you kind of think of like a young Jamie George as the kind of only hooker that's kind of come on at a young age and been nailing darts from day one. But given how good he is around the park, like his physicality, like his running, his handling is brilliant. Just proper all court game player. Went off quite early. France interestingly made a lot of changes for this game against Wales. It looked like a bit of a weakened side almost. Like Carbonneau was on the bench. What were the other changes? Furte moved to fullback, which I think was quite key because he wasn't in the game that much. against New Zealand. And I think when you've got a guy who's got that much experience and that much quality, got to get him in. Bosmaran on the wing is a winger I really like. Takola, who played brilliantly for Van this year, came into 12. But yeah, they changed the whole front row, which I found quite interesting because they had a pretty good game. And Massa wasn't even on the bench. Malater, the 7, also got switched out for Tolofua. Thought Malater was like the whole back row France was great, but Malater was a very untraditional French flanker, I'd say, like much more of a English style, kind of like a Tom Rees almost, like kind of tackling everything quite spindly, tackling everything, turnovers, that kind of. Trying to think of like when I've seen Pollock and Carnduff for England, like similar sort of player, like probably most like a kind of Francois Cross, maybe, kind of just all round work rate, a lot of tackles, a lot of breakdown work.
Worst blokes to be compared to.
Yeah, whereas like your Quere Carebas and Castros are your Quere Careba, I don't even know who you'd compare him to. Probably like a Macalou, but more physical, like and less of a line out option. And Castro, we've kind of said, is a kind of Jasper Wiese, always aggressive sort of player. But yeah, I mean, there's some players to get excited about. I'm really glad they made it to the semi-finals because they were the better team in that New Zealand game for a lot of it, and the ref was quite annoying. And I wonder if just with a different ref, I wonder whether it would be a completely different result. But we didn't see much of New Zealand, so I wonder if, in another game, because there's every chance they end up playing New Zealand, I think, in the semi-final.
I'm just looking now. I don't think it's been confirmed. I don't know why, because surely now the seedings are sorted. They should
New Zealand, as it looks like New Zealand would be first seed,
and
which
therefore
means
France.
They would play the fourth seed, which would be France.
Yeah, nice. And that's this
because
Sunday,
of the draw for Ireland, that's denied them the chance to kind of rack up quite a tally. Yes, and those semi-finals are on Sunday, 3:30 and 6 o'clock UK time.
Nice.
And on Rugby Pass TV. So those will be 2 epic games. England Ireland will be epic as well.
Yeah.
But I've not caught any of those games. There's been quite a lot of rugby on this week, actually.
Well, England today, you were talking about game of the group stages, have beat South Africa in the 84th minute try to win 17-12. So yeah, raps to them. I was also just looking, the weather had a further say. So New Zealand 45, Spain 13, which doesn't look too bad for Spain on paper, but it was called off at half time. So,
oh my God.
Which is probably more the sort of scoreline you'd anticipate. But regardless, I think, France and New Zealand semi should be a beaut.
I just want to highlight New Zealand have a winger called King Maxwell, which is just the best name possibly in world rugby.
That is pretty good.
I was like, surely that's Kin, and then his name came up when he came off the bench. It's like, no, it is King Maxwell.
That is outstanding. Beautiful.
But yeah, plenty to look forward to there. And yeah, make your own mind up. Don't let me influence you. See if I've got some kind of confirmation bias with my picking out the good players just because I've heard of them.
Keep a keener eye out this weekend.
Yeah.
Cool. Shall we skip straight into a few little closers, digestives, Petit-Fours?
I think we need some light-hearted stuff to finish.
Some light-hearted stuff. Look, I haven't seen too much this week, but some of the Pro de Deux sides have been announcing their pre-season games. So there's some really cool ones in there, like who?
Oh, I don't know.
Playing
Biarritz hosting Bayonne.
Well, that was what I was coming to, but you just ruined my build-up. So,
sorry, Richard.
So yeah, that's.
You fumbled on remembering some of the other games.
Who is one of the teams? Is it Dax who are playing Castres, followed by Soyo Angoulême, which I think is just quite a cool little triumvirate of fixtures. But yeah, Saturday, 24th of August, Biarritz v Bayonne, which
is the bank holiday weekend.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
I am tempted, I have to say.
Fair play.
Little sojourn down to the beach in Biarritz, and then who
And then
knows?
go
There's
and
a
get in a
nice long
scrap.
beach. There's a nice long beach in San Sebastian as well. That's just over the border.
Yeah, but I think that's just so cool, isn't it? Because it's been a few years now, and also you just don't know when. Like getting out of Pro Day Dirt, as we have seen, is bloody hard. And Bayonne are clearly looking to establish themselves as a proper top 14 outfit. Could be years. So it'd be good to great shout for them just to get everyone in a bit of a scrap, because I think
like how it said friendly, and it was like, we'll
yeah.
see.
I think there were quite a few sarcastic quotation marks, weren't there?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a beauty. That was the main thing. I would be lying if I said I didn't look at Skyscanner flights earlier to Biarritz, but it is quite punchy at the moment.
Is it?
And I'm in Italy the weekend before, but yeah, never say never.
Talking of travel, Richard, it feels like years ago, but the Champions Cup pools have been announced.
Yes, they have.
And as here at Rosbeefs, as Leicester Tigers and Exeter Chiefs fans, not both, each of us is one of those. We have got possibly the two best cities in France potentially lined up for our trip, because in the same pool as Chiefs and Tigers are Toulouse and Union Bordeaux-Bègles. There is a chance that on the same weekend there could be Chiefs v Bordeaux and Leicester v Toulouse, which would be imagine getting a ticket for Leicester v Toulouse at Stade Ernest Vallon could be quite tricky.
You'd think so. Yeah, that's pretty exciting. Invariably, the Exeter game will be, although they've got Ulster away. I've always quite liked to go to Belfast. That's quite a good trip. And then is it the Bulls again?
Yeah.
Which I don't think I'll be making the trip for.
Yeah, it's either the Bulls or Stormers, isn't it?
But I've got to say, it is frustrating, the new format and the draw. I mean, the whole format is unbelievably rogue anyway. But like when they were drawing, I actually watched the draw, and it's carnage, because like one of the pools fills up, and then they're like it's completely out of kilter because of the way they have to stagger the various teams in each league. And he's just like, yeah, that one can't go into pool 2 and it can't go into pool 3, so it'll have to be in pool 4. It's complete bedlam. But yeah,
was Rod Stewart doing it?
No, sadly he wasn't. I think that would have been a step too far for old Rod. But the main frustration is you don't know where you could end up, because a few years ago at this point, like bang, we're going to organise Quins at Claremont and stuff like that. So I don't know when the fixtures, is it probably September? Like, would it be before the start of the league seasons?
I'm pretty sure last year it's kind of the weekends get announced. You don't get the actual dates for quite a long time, but the weekends, I think, kind of the back end of the summer.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye out on that. Challenge Cup draw.
But
I'm sure you're coming on to this.
And I guess I was just about to, but just to touch on some of the others for some of the other English fans, conscious that not all of our listeners are Tigers and Chiefs fans. One of our friends is a Harlequins fan, and he was pretty underwhelmed, partly because he complains about everything, that he was getting Racing and Toulon. But I actually think an away trip to Toulon as a Harlequins fan could be quite cool.
Tie it in with a visit to Stade Niçois, possibly.
Yeah. Or Provence. Yeah. Pool 2. The Bristol, good luck getting a ticket to La Rochelle. If you're a Bristol or Bath fan, that's a pretty horrible group, really, to have La Rochelle and Munster in it again. And then, if you're a Sarries fan or a Northampton fan, you've got Cast and Stade Francais, two teams that in recent history haven't really bothered with the Champions Cup. So be interesting to see where they go with that.
I think in that group as well, you've got Benetton, right, which is quite a cool
Benetton's
trip.
the Bristol
or is that
one.
is that the Bristol one? Is it?
Yeah, you've got Bulls and Munster. So that's the cool one. Northampton Munster again.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sharks are the one in the Tigers and Chiefs group.
That's it.
So I think as a Tigers fan, I've got the best options there, potentially. Most likely to get I feel like La Rochelle, you're just resigning yourself to not being able to get a ticket. Having tried last year, it was just impossible.
Yeah. It haven't had much luck. We'll get there eventually.
Yeah. And then the Challenge Cup, Richard, as we previewed with Steve Cummins last week, said what I think he replied to us saying, build it and they will come. So the dream of the Steve Cummins return to Stade de Hameau in Pau and the renewing rivalries of Section Paloise is an option. So yeah, that's gonna be cool, potentially. If not, are you gonna go down to Newport? We're gonna go down to Newport and see my beloved Section Paloise take on with the kind of under 20s. I imagine Section Paloise under 20s are probably going to be pretty good given their international
Possibly. I mean, I could try and tie it in. I sometimes have to go through Newport to get to my in-laws. So what's a little detour? But also actually
hopefully it's
got
a
a
weekend
wedding
before Christmas.
Yeah. Who have Gloucester got in their group?
Gloucester have Bayonne and Van.
Nice.
Gloucester have lucked out on that. I would say.
I would say
yeah.
they're probably two not bad shouts of being able to get a ticket for. Well, if it's Van will be difficult, particularly if it's the first fixture, their first ever European game. But Bayonne, I suspect you'll get a ticket for a Challenge Cup game.
Or Black Lion.
Particularly if it's, I mean, that's quite flair. But particularly if it's a Friday or Sunday, as I believe the Glasgow and Exeter games in the Champions Cup were last year, and there were plenty of tickets going a few weeks before. But I've actually got a wedding near Gloucester the week of the first round of fixtures. So if Gloucester fancied playing Van or Bayonne at home at Kingsholm, I will try and sneak in. A lot of things have got to go right.
I've got a little quiz question for you.
Oh no!
That I realised there are two teams in the Challenge Cup that don't play in either the Premiership, the Top 14, or the URC. Who are they?
Well, one of them is Black Lion, as you've mentioned.
Who's the other
one? Wow. So in the past, they've had teams from Romania, haven't they, and Russia?
It's a bit of a trick question.
Right, wait.
I'll give you a clue. They played against Po in Amsterdam last year.
Oh, it's like the is it the Lions?
It's the Cheetahs.
Or the Cheetahs, sorry. Okay.
Because they're no longer in the URC, which is, I found that I only had that realization the other day. I was like, oh, yeah.
How weird. We go.
But that if they do I wonder if they'll try and pander to the Dutch crowd again. That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Very much so. Dangerous trip, that.
Yeah.
If a bit weird watching Cheetahs v Po in Amsterdam.
Yeah. A few other, let's rattle through. It feels like a long, long time ago now, particularly, but the top 14 final, we haven't really done a podcast since some of the partying finished. Some really sad news coming out to lose. Joe Takori's wife passed away, so there's a lot of stuff on that. Obviously, clearly, it just kind of hammered home how much of a community family club they are. The Toulouse players were still going at Chez Tonton on Monday, I think, which is day 3, and that is not a place I don't think you want to be going on day 3. Sofiane Guitoune has joined the coaching team at Toulouse. Did you see what he was doing on one of the nights out in Toulouse?
Is he like carrying the trophies, or was that the picture of him?
Yeah, there was. But he was also, at one point, just while they were sat having drinks around a table, he was just brushing his teeth.
Oh my God.
On what looked like, I think day 3, they were all wearing Real Madrid kits. I think that was day 3. talking of the top 14 final or the top 14, one thing we've got to mention that a couple of weeks ago we had a landmark moment for Rosbeefs Rugby where we fixed up Patrick with some tickets with Trenton. So two strangers who are followers of Rosbeefs met up, got tickets, sorted each other out for tickets to the top 14 semi-finals. Very, very cool for us. Self-praise. Feel free to unfollow us if you hate that sort of self-praise. Actually, no, I don't. Talking of drinks and friendships, we obviously had Steve Cummins on last week. He is back in Sydney, as we knew. But Zach Henry and Reece Hewitt, and what must have been Reece Hewitt's girlfriend, were having drinks in Sydney Harbour ahead of, it would seem, Jack Maddox's wedding at the weekend, which looked like quite a fun occasion on a boat in Sydney Harbour, I think.
That's very cool.
That was very cool. Talking very cool, there was a very cool video with Cami Lopez in conjunction with a Basque cider about his upbringing in Morleon and his progression through Morleon to the Basque Country and Clermont and winning the top 14. That was really cool. I just love Cami Lopez. Love a kind of rustic history. I'm part of this community. That's pretty much been done. Although Zachary Afan, who we were saying, why isn't he in the under-20s, was due to be joining Brive on loan, but he tore cruciate ligaments, so he's got a long-term injury, and that loan to Brive has also been cancelled. So that suggests that is a pretty nasty injury for a pretty big bloke. I think I'm done. Something, yeah. I should have saved the Sofiane Guitoune one for last. That's the most funny one. But he's literally just brushing his teeth on like surround. They're like in one of those. They're in a square, like with one of those tiny circular tables, and they're all crowded around it, and he's just, full on brushing his teeth.
Bizarre. I did also see as part of those celebrations, Antoine Dupont in a retro New Zealand Warriors shirt, which was very cool.
Yeah.
He was looking a little bit jaded as well. Looking a little bit less superhuman, it must be said. Amazing what 3 days on the pasties can do to you.
Yeah.
Alrighty. I think we're done, right?
We are done. Next week, we are hopefully not going to have any nasty stuff to talk about. We'll talk about the end of the French tour, but also the Top 14 website has been running a poll for its Top 14 team of the season, which hopefully we'll be able to do, and we might share our views on that. Some interesting players on the shortlist. Some of the positions are quite tough to call. I'm sure we'll have plenty of opinions. But yeah, we'll do a little bit of end of season review, I guess, next week.
Who do you reckon
get in
plays
touch
at 9?
if you want to. What, in the top 14 team of the season? Kuyu, surely.
Big Baptiste. Doesn't matter which one.
Yeah, one of the Baptistes. That's quite a tough call, isn't it? Best 9. Paul Grau, he gets my vote.
Fair. Well, let's not give too much away.
Yeah. Keep your powder. And we've got some interesting stuff coming up over the summer. But if you want us to talk about anything French rugby related, get in touch. And we will brainstorm some ideas. But we've also got some guests lined up. We did have a guest lined up this week, but practicalities, they're all on off season. So it kind of makes sense to let them enjoy their off season. Yeah.
But stay tuned. We've got some, members of top 14 winning squads. We'll just float that out there. Fab, you can follow us on the usual spiel, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Anything I'm missing, Rob?
Subscribe, follow.
Bebo, MySpace.
Give us a nice review. Lots of reviews, lots of subscribing, lots of follows, please. We're still trying to grow. You know what to do.
Alrighty, that's been Rob. I've been Richard. We've been at the Rosbeef Rugby podcast. Have a great week. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
O'Reilly. Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free and provides a report with solutions based on over 650 million vehicle scans verified by ASE certified master technicians. And if you need help, we can recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.